Hey everybody, Dan Bailey here. It's a sunny May evening here out at the Knik River Bar, about 40 miles east of Anchorage, Alaska, where I live. It's my first time out here in months. I haven't come out here since last fall. Here's my mode of transportation to get out here. My faithful little Cessna 120. She's built in 1947. It's got Tundra tires on it, and it's just a really fun little airplane. It's kind of like a Subaru with wings. So it gets me and my gear to the places where I can go have adventures. And as you can see, this is the landing strip that I came in on, right back behind me. It's pretty long. It's about 1,800 feet in total, but there is a pronounced dip in the middle. So you want to make sure that you've already landed and have your speed controlled by the time you hit that middle spot, so you don't bounce, and that's kind of hard on the landing gear. Anyway, as you can see, it's a really wonderful evening out here tonight. It's pretty quiet. I'm the only person out here for miles. And so I wanted to do this little virtual tour and bring you out with me and see what it's like for me when I come out here and kill a couple hours with the camera. So I hope you have fun on this little virtual tour. It's a little bit cooler out here than it was in town today. It was probably 60 degrees in Anchorage, or close to it, at least in the sunshine. So not too bad though. Kind of average spring evening weather, so I'll take it. So here we are down by the Knik Glacier Lagoon. This is the little body of water that's in front of the glacier. The glacier's out there. You can see it in the sunshine out there. This is where the icebergs that break off the glacier live out the rest of their days before they finally melt, and then get evaporated and fall as snow and precipitation back in the mountains, which turns them back into glacier material. So it's pretty fun to be out here, as you can imagine. There's a lot of photographic opportunities. I come out here numerous times throughout the year. And that's one of the really fun, magical things about going to the same place, revisiting locations, is oftentimes they're different than the last time you were there, and they change. And so that's one of the fun adventures of nature and outdoor photography. In addition to photographing the icebergs, I love these reflections. I've photographed this particular reflection numerous times. You might recognize it from some of my older pictures. But I like these juxtapositions of the mountains reflected in the water with the little icebergs and little ice chunks that are floating nearby. And there's so many different size and shapes of ice formations. There's really a limitless amount of fun that can be out here with the camera. So like I said, I spent a lot of time out here, and it's always a fun challenge to try to do different things and come up with different compositions, try using different lenses, use different film simulations and color palettes. Anything to kind of push your creativity and vary the compositions, so you don't always come home with the same thing. So I've got my Atlas pack here. This is my favorite adventure pack. It's got a great camera insert and a lot of space on the inside of the pack for jacket, water, food, emergency gear, anything like that. So I'll show you what's in my bag, what I typically carry out here. So I'm going to flip it over, and then we'll just undo the zippers, and you can see the camera insert. And so there I've got my X-T4 with a 35mm lens on it, and I've got a 55-200, my 14 2.8, some batteries. I've got my 50mm f2, which is one of my favorite lenses, and then my X100V, which I almost never leave the house without that thing. It's a lot of fun. And then cards, a buff. So yeah, there's everything I need for an evening of photography. As you can see over here, we've got some nice reflections that are in the sunlight. You can see the distant mountains being hit by the sun, and so those are being reflected in the lake. And so I'm going to see what I can do with those. I'm going to put a long lens on, put that 55-200 on, and see what I can do with that. So as you can see, I isolated these little ice chunks, these little tiny icebergs, in front of the reflected mountains. I started with Velvia to give me nice, rich, bold colors, and then I switched to Eterna Bleach Bypass, which is like the opposite of Velvia. It pulls all those colors back, adds a little bit of dynamic range just to keep the excitement and the drama high, so it doesn't get too boring. And then I switched to Classic Knig, which is another film simulation that I love. It also gives kind of a similar feel to Eterna Bleach Bypass. Yanks some of the colors back and the saturation, but it boosts the tonality. Those three color palettes really do give you a wide range of tonal possibilities. And I like the contrast that each one delivers to the shot. For this scene, you can see I'm concentrating on this area over here. And again, starting with Velvia, which you can see just really rich, bold colors. And there's something that really cool about Velvia shooting ice and snow in the shade. And when you contrast that against sunlit stuff, you just have this really beautiful, deep blues against the warm sunset colors on the mountains. And then again, switch to Eterna Bleach Bypass for that kind of antithesis of Velvia, that color that's almost monochrome. And then for the third one, I went with Classic Chrome. I do like the way that Classic Chrome renders the colors of ice. So I've used that quite a bit photographing out here. Got some really cool reflections out there. I'm playing with those a little bit, using Velvia again. Isolating that one little bump on the iceberg. You can see all the detail in there, and then against that little strip of golden mountains back there. I really like that look. And then instead of focusing on the iceberg, I can focus on the mountains back there and just get all that crisp detail, those golden peaks. Of course, I got to shoot a wide angle, so I pulled out the X100V with its little 23mm f2 lens on the front. Here I've switched to Classic Knig and cranked the clarity way up. I think this gives a really gritty look. Just kind of a nice contrast from the other stuff I'm shooting this evening. And the light's progressing nicely. You're turning out to be a pretty good evening. Here you can see that one last peak getting hit by the sun. This is what we live for. This is why we do this. We can catch these magical moments of light that happen around us. Pretty tranquil evening. You can see why I like it out here so much. I'm all alone out here. There's nobody around for miles. It's kind of fun to have this solitude. You don't get that very often. And it's just a bush plane ride away. So it's 10:27. There are 10 minutes left till sunset. So I'm going to pack up my gear and hike up over the hill and see if we can see some last light. And here we are, back at the little yellow plane. So I'm just going to do a little wind check. It's pretty calm, but I'll just pick a few leaves up, chuck them in the air. And you can see they blew to the left there, so there's a little bit of wind coming off the glacier. So we'll take off into the headwind. So I'll taxi down the strip, turn around, and then take off going that way. So should be a pretty smooth takeoff, I think. So I'm all buckled in. It's about a 45-minute flight back to Merrill Field. It'll probably be 11:15 when I get home. It'll still be light. It doesn't get dark this time of year. In fact, we won't see dark for about 3 more months. So that's kind of the payoff for all the hard, laborious work we've done in the wintertime, is that we get these great, endless summers with midnight sunsets and really no darkness. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me on this little virtual tour, the Knik Glacier. And please subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other videos. Have fun with your cameras out there, and I'll see you next time.